TikTok, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. I'm your friendly neighborhood philosopher, D. Wood. With me now is Thaddeus. What kind of name is Thaddeus?
That would be a biblical name.
Yeah, I know, but I've only known like one other Thaddeus my whole life, so it seems like one of those names that died out.
Yeah, my parents like unique names. So my sister and I, we both have unique names.
Yeah, that's cool. All our kids have weird names. Want to check audio levels here at the beginning before everyone before we continue, and then someone tells me like 30 minutes into it that our audio levels are horribly different or something like that. Do we sound roughly in the same ballpark? Go ahead and tell everyone about your channel here before we get started, Thaddeus, so people can.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on. I'm very excited to be here. Maybe we'll get a little bit of chance to talk about my personal story, but David Wood is the reason that I got interested in Islam. So I started my channel a little over 3 years ago. Didn't know at the time I started, I wasn't sure if I was going to, talk about Islam or just talk about Christian apologetics. And I ended up that the Lord kept guiding me towards talking about Islam. So my channel's probably about 80% focused on Islam and 20% straight Christian apologetics.
All right. Why don't you? Well, you now you opened the door. So let's go ahead and get a little background on your story before we get started. There's the elephant in the room, namely the guy who stole Hatun's Quran. Did y'all see that? Did y'all catch that? That at Speaker's Corner, someone stole Hatun's Quran. Someone stole Hatun's Quran, and then police arrested Hatun for it because that's just how they roll. That's just how they roll apparently in the UK. Many people don't know is that was the Quran that they stole was the Quran I gave to Hatun. I could be wrong about why I gave that to her. I believe that someone stole her Quran one day before that, and that I sent her a custom D. Wood Quran as a gift to make up for the one that was stolen. So now they stole the Quran that was a gift because they stole another Quran. Notice, the Quran that they just stole would never have been made if they hadn't stole the other Quran, right? If they hadn't stole the first Quran, that Quran would never have been made. And what's just absolutely wild here, what's absolutely wild is these guys don't know how many Qurans I have, right? I mean, they don't know how many Qurans I have to make more custom Qurans. I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, so this is Arabic, of course. Then if you want, with the English with the English and Arabic, you've got like the Yusuf Ali. You got study Qurans, like I have the study Quran, then I have the critical Quran by Robert Spencer. Then, oh my goodness, you guys haven't even seen Qurans. You don't even know Qurans. You don't even know Qurans, man. You do not know. I save this. I keep these in store for occasions just such as this one. Occasions just like that. I mean, my goodness, this thing's as big as I am. Look at this. Look at this Quran. You see this? They seriously want me to customize this, as only I can, and then Hatun to show up at Speaker's Corner. And when they see me give this to Hatun as a gift, then they'll want to steal it, knowing for a fact that I will just send 10 more. It's like, it's just weird, man. This is weird stuff, right? And most people don't seem to get it. The few people that get it are people like Sajid, right? Like Sajid will respond. He'll if he sees this situation, he'll go, "Guys, why are you stealing her Quran? You know what David Wood is going to do. Why are you doing it?" He'll get it, right? But it's always, "Hey, let's do this thing, and we know how people are going to react, but let's do it anyway, even though it will result in desecration of something or blasphemy against something." And it's weird. It's like they want us to do it deep down. They want us to do it. Anyway, weird situation. All right. Just wanted you guys to know I've already invited Hatun on to talk about what happened. So we'll see if she's free sometime this week, and I'll go live with Hatun and we'll watch some video clips and so on. But right now we wanted to get to some channels and some video clips. But Thaddeus, you mentioned your background, so give us the condensed version.
Yeah, I'll give you the brief version. So I became a Christian as a teenager, grew up in a Christian household, but never really heard the gospel. Grew up in a legal church that talked a lot about morality. No doubt that's not that uncommon that children are taught primarily morality. They're not necessarily taught the gospel. But after I heard the gospel as a teenager, I accepted Jesus as my personal savior. And within a short amount of time, I don't remember exactly how, but I became introduced to apologetics. So that was some 20 plus years ago. So I'm very naturally introvert, very shy. Only talk to people I know, and so I would have never imagined, like starting a YouTube channel or something. So how did that happen? Well, I was watching a YouTube video. I believe it was actually a Ravi Zacharias video, and someone put in the comments that their favorite apologist was David Wood.
Smart.
I Indeed, they were. Indeed, they were. I had never heard of him before that, so I went over to his channel, and naturally, the first thing I watched was his testimony video. One of the greatest videos ever created, in my opinion. And I was instantly very hooked on his content, very interested in what he had to say because of that video. So I started watching other videos, and of course, they're mostly about Islam. For this, since I had a background in apologetics, I knew some basic arguments against Islam, certainly more than the average Christian would. But I also was very ignorant about Islam. For example, I didn't even know there was a hadith. It was like, okay, Christians have the Bible, Muslims have the Quran. Um, so I began to learn about Islam. And as a Christian apologist, one of my favorite things to study was always the historical argument for Christianity, the idea that you can prove or disprove Christianity based on historical inquiry. And that's not true of most religions. Most religions are very uh, immaterial, that they have religious ideas, they make claims about the spiritual world, but you can't really disprove or prove them from a historical standpoint because the founder or reputed founder is rather irrelevant to the religion. But Islam is different. Islam, like Christianity, if you disprove the foundational events of the religion, then it obviously must be false. Of course, that's not the only reason why something can be false, but it's a reason that was especially interesting to me. So I began to realize that Islam was something that I wanted to study, and was growing interested because of David Wood. At some point, YouTube recommended me an Islam critiqued video. This was actually before David promoted Colin the first time. He only had maybe like 1,500 subs at that time, maybe even less than 1,000. And I went over there, and because his channel was super small at that time, I was able to have start having personal conversations with him, and I ended up befriending him. I told him in private conversation that I was doing a apologetics type talk at my church, for a dozen people. That's the extent of my desire to talk to people. A dozen was pushing it, and he said, if you're doing it anyway, you might as well record it and put it up on YouTube. So I didn't actually record it live. I recorded it later, giving it to the camera, but that's actually how I got started. Colin was kind enough to interview me, gave me my start, gave me my first 50 subs or so. As I started to develop the channel, and that video had nothing to do with Islam. Obviously, that was actually on the problem of evil, on suffering, and as I began to work in the channel, I continued to realize just how much need there is to outreach to Islam. That most of Christian apologetics is focused on atheism. Atheists represent 5% of the world population at best, and like 100 million people. Meanwhile, there are 1.5 billion, close to 2 billion even, Muslims in the world now. And virtually no one was doing outreach to Islam, outreach to Muslims. So it started to realize, there's an abundant need. And I don't know about anyone else, but I actually find conversations with atheists to be extremely boring. They always go the same way. You give some sort of argument. They declare that doesn't count as evidence. Therefore, there is no evidence. Therefore, they win. And it just kind of goes in a circle. So at least personally, it made a lot more sense for me to be interested in Islam. So started making videos on that, and here we are today.
All right, and I just wanted to add one little thing to what you said. You mentioned that you're introverted, and so what
Hmm.
would you be doing on YouTube? I just wanted to tell any potential future YouTubers out there, it's actually perfect for introverts, right? Sitting here, I'm in my room with my camera right now, right? There's no one else here. There's no one else here. It's perfect, right? You're talking to a camera. So if you don't like being in crowds, you like being to yourself. My goodness, YouTube's perfect. You get to have, get to have discussions with nothing in there but a camera. So works out perfectly. Now, just to bring everyone up to date, a little while back, I announced that I'd be deleting my YouTube channel. And at first, I think I said June, but then my friend Jorge pointed out that it would be funnier on July 4th, Independence Day, for all of you who don't know what July 4th is here in the US. So I went with July 4th, and a while back, I posted a video inviting people to recommend channels that I should promote before I go. And I said, specifically what I'm looking for is channels that are underrated, meaning, given the quality of the content, they should have more followers than they do. And sometimes that'll just, that because people haven't been on very long or people haven't caught on. It's actually, there's so much content on YouTube, it can be kind of difficult to get started. So we're looking for people to give a little push. And then people gave a ton of recommendations. A lot of those recommendations were for what I wasn't looking for, namely people who already have big channels or people who are already well known. So they don't, I could probably get them a few more subscribers or something like that. But there are a lot of people who are already well known. And then fortunately, Thaddeus went ahead and compiled the data. So it looks like you sifted through everything and then you ranked everything. And then it looks like you took out the ones that are already pretty well known to narrow it down to channels that a lot of people were recommending, but that still most people still didn't know about, even though they had their fans here who were recommending them. There's still a lot of room for people who haven't heard of them. And so you kind of narrowed that down. So we want to go through some of the ones that were on. So you kind of combined the criteria and came up with a list. So you went above and beyond that. You sent me video clips, short couple minute clips from each one of these channels to give people an idea of what to expect on those channels. So that's the purpose of this live stream, everyone. We're looking at some of the channels that people recommended. And again, these channels were recommended saying, guys, you should check out this channel. And I understand not every person likes every kind of channel. So that's the point of taking a look at the channel, taking a look at the video clips, and then we got the links in the description box. You can go to those channels and see if you like them. But you'll get an idea if you like them from the video clips we're about to look at. So now, Thaddeus, you weren't at the top. We're looking at you first, but we're not claiming that you were first on the list, right? We're putting you first because
that's correct. To be fair, I would have been about 10th on the list. And so I wouldn't have actually made the list if I hadn't gone ahead and sent you the data, but I get to jump to the top because
that's a perk. That's a perk for putting in the work. All right, so should we check out a video clip?
Yes, go ahead.
Let me see. Even though I've been using this program for years now, I'm still terrible at technology. All right, now guys, some of the volume levels on these clips are going to be lower than we're speaking, and I won't be able to adjust them all because they're coming from all people, different people's recordings and so on. So we'll do the best we can. Here we have Reasoned Answers.
Recently, Lloyd DeYoung and myself had a show exploring the long history of silly, contradictory, and blatantly ahistorical Muslim claims about the Apostle Paul. We opened up the stream for Muslim responses, and were joined by Safras Hussein. Did he respond to the various Muslim scholars we quoted that espoused utter nonsense, confusing Paul with King Saul, thinking Constantine was the son of Pontius Pilate, and so forth? Of course not. What I'm suggesting is that one particular type of Muslim is a habitual liar. The type who disputes with Christians in YouTube comments as a form of dawah. And as we're about to see, there's a reason why they act this way. A quick internet search will reveal that lying is forbidden in Islam. To us, that's a clear moral command. However, we have to understand Islam as well-informed Muslims understand it. Islam is not a religion based on moral principles. It's a religion based on rules. Or put differently, a religion of laws and lawyers. The Quran is not the ultimate authority in Islam. The scholarly consensus, that is the opinion of the lawyers, on how to interpret the Quran and the Sunnah is the ultimate authority.
Wow.
As such, we need to turn to the legal, or Sharia, guides to understand Islam. Let's take a look at what Reliance of the Traveler, the most popular such manual, states on lying. This is an explicit statement that lying is sometimes permissible for a given interest. If lying achieves a good end, tricking non-Muslims or smoothing over a relationship, it is a good thing to do. The end justifies the means. But actually, it gets worse. Reliance explains. When it is possible to achieve such an aim by lying, but not by telling the truth, it is permissible to lie if attaining the goal is permissible, and obligatory to lie if the goal is obligatory. So, lying is not just permissible, but obligatory if the outcome is obligatory and truth won't accomplish the desired end. Is it obligatory for Muslims to wage war on non-Muslims?
Yes. Yes.
Is it obligatory for Muslims to give dawah?
Yes. Yes.
Is it obligatory to continue until all the world has converted to Islam, or at least agreed to acknowledge their inferiority and live as subjugated people?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So the end is obligatory. But how can Muslims accomplish that end? Can they convince anyone to convert to Islam by telling the truth? Absolutely not. Islam is morally depraved and intellectually bankrupt. The only possible way to get an average person to convert is to trick them.
Well, that was pretty much the most racist thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I am an Islamophobe. It's okay.
I saw you grinning throughout your video too. Is that just your normal look, or are you one of these guys who is amused at himself?
Well, I do chuckle at my videos a little as I'm editing them. I won't lie, but I also am pretty fun-loving in general. So it's not just my videos that I chuckle at. I chuckle at a lot of videos.
Here we have from Sunny Sparkles. They always pick on St. Paul. Paul was an amazing man, and he didn't hook up with a 6-year-old. That is true. Yeah, in fact, I have an entire series from way back in the day called Paul versus Muhammad. I think it's like 26 or 27 video series or something like that. But it was, I just went down the line comparing Paul and Muhammad in every possible way I could compare them. And in every relevant way you can compare two people in terms of their reliability, Paul wins. And you put it all together, my goodness. And I say at the end, that's funny because, Paul's not even our main guy. So a guy who's not even our main guy is vastly superior to Islam's only guy. It's the only guy they got. All right. Let me pull up your channel here. Reasoned Answers. Let's take a look at what you got here. All right, so here we have Reasoned Answers. Looks like you have just under 10,000 subscribers.
Yes, that's actually a very relevant observation because earlier today I posted on my community page, I said that I was prophesying between 3 and 9 hours from then that I would hit 10,000 subscribers. So if everyone wants to go over there and prove that I am just as good of a prophet as Allah's best prophecy, if we can even count it as a prophecy, just like for me, it wasn't exactly a hard prediction to make since I knew that I'd be on this channel today.
There you have it, and you have the link is in the description box, and people have been sharing it in the chat as well. But yeah, any of the links of the channels we're checking out should be in the description box. So here we have Reasoned Answers, just checking out deconstructing Dawah tactics, rhetoric, distraction, deception, the beauty of Sharia. See? Busted. We caught you talking about the beauty of Sharia. 5 dumbest claims about Islam, refuting Islam in one word, Mormonism. My goodness. It's getting doubly racist in here. How Islam...
Well, I don't know if critiquing Mormonism can be racist though, because that's
I know they're the whitest.
religion.
They're the whitest people in the world, but I'm just going with the idea that any minority religion is a race. And then we have hey, there we have some stuff with me. I see my face and some stuff there. And so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just putting these topics up here so you can see which of these topics you might be interested in, and you could check those out. And again, link to the channel is in the description box. All right, so final quick appeal. Thaddeus, why should people subscribe to your channel?
Yeah, I would say that about a year ago, I took some time off, and when I came back in December, since I've come back in December, I've been being much more intentional about the way I do things. I'm getting really interested in editing my videos, providing, some fun little elements to them. And I think I wouldn't say that my early content is necessarily like the best in the world, but I would say that I feel a lot better about my content recently. I've been putting a lot of effort to it, and I think that it's really paying off. Even before today, there was definitely a lot of momentum building, a lot of people saying positive things about it. And even more importantly, I know of 2 Muslims who have told me that they personally told me that they came to the Lord as a result of the content. So,
all right, well, there you have Reason Answers. Now, what's next on our list of channels that people need to check out?
So the most recommended channel, just to be clear, was Christian Prince, but that obviously doesn't qualify. So the most recommended channel that actually fit the criteria was God Logic Apologetics.
God Logic. So, and God Logic, I think most people who heard of God Logic only heard about him recently with the interaction with Sheikh Uthman. So should we go ahead and check out a clip from that?
Yes, let's do that.
All right. And God Logic, I did see God Logic in the chat, right?
Yes, he was here at least at the start.
All right, let's check out a clip from God Logic here.
Since I just started my platform, what I like to do is try to show how interfaith dialogue, even though we fundamentally disagree on everything, basically.
Everything? Not
Just,
everything.
I said basically.
Come on, bro.
I said basically.
We both believe there's a God.
We do.
Okay, so
But
we don't
that's what I said
pretty big
basically. Even though we have, let's say many fundamental disagreements, we can still do this.
Sure.
Laugh as we're just talking,
Yep.
dapping it up,
Yep.
chopping it up.
Yep.
And I want more Christians and Muslims who see this stuff to be able to have these conversations without the malice, without the we gotta one up you and yada yada yada.
I agree.
So I had a question
Go for it.
about the Messiah.
All right.
So from the Islamic perspective,
Okay.
what does Messiah mean?
So you're talking about Messiah, right? Messiah is like a messenger, somebody who comes to guide people and to bring them a message and be basically a instrument of guidance for people.
Okay.
Right? So for example, they have the false Messiah, Messiah Dajjal.
Yeah.
Right? Now he's got his own message, but his message is a false message.
Yeah.
Right? So Isa ibn Maryam, for example, he was the one that came and he guided people towards the truth.
Right.
Right? So he can be called a Messiah in that sense.
So my question then would be, then could Muhammad or even Noah or any of the other prophets count as being messiahs?
So in Arabic, we use 2 terms, right? For prophet and Rasul, right? One is Nabi,
Nabi,
and one is Rasul,
Rasul, yeah.
right? You already know this stuff.
A
You're
little
good.
bit.
All right,
I'm
good.
learning a little bit.
So every prophet who is chosen is Mustafa, right? Mustafa, like the one who's chosen, is going to be a prophet. But not every one of them will be a Rasul,
Right.
right? Because Rasul gets Risala. They get
The
a message revealed to them, right? So Islamically, yes, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ibrahim alayhi salam, because he had the Suhuf, Isa, Jesus, Ibn Maryam, and those are all Rusul, and you can call them in that sense messiahs as well.
Okay, so you can call the other
Sure.
prophets messiahs.
Why not?
So why aren't they called messiahs?
They
then?
are. I mean, what do you mean they're not?
So okay, so Muhammad,
Alayhi
Noah, and these other prophets, they're called messiahs.
You could call them messiahs if you like. I mean, what do you mean they're not called?
So nowhere do we only find Jesus being identified as the Messiah.
Where?
In the Quran and the Hadith. All right, very good. So go to 1 Corinthians for me, chapter 2.
Go for it. Here you go.
You don't know where it
I know
is,
where
man? You got
Corinthians
all right, go
is.
to
I
it,
got you
man.
on Corinthians. I was just trying to help you.
Wrong way, man. You got to go the other way. Corinthians in the New Testament, Sheikh.
I got you. Relax. We've gone over Corinthians many a time.
All right, good. You should know where it is.
That was funny. For anyone who doesn't know what happened in the follow-up, I don't even think I saw that. I think I saw one of the follow-up videos that was discussing. Matter of fact, I think it was a DCCI video. Where did I see that? Where did I see the video? That was they were discussing Sheikh Uthman's response, where he was supposedly bringing a hadith where other people can be called messiahs, and it was actually a footnote or something like that. And so his defense, I guess, was, oops, he made a mistake. When if you talk to Sheikh Uthman, he's doing this all the time. He's one of the people, and this is just very common for lots of people. The idea seems to be, say whatever you need to say in the moment to win your point, even if it can be totally refuted later on. Just hope that no one bothers to actually come and point out that you were misrepresenting things. And this is the reason it would be common for someone like Sheikh Uthman, is that video is pretty recent for him to be focusing on. For years, he's just doing dawah. And if you got people coming up to you on the street, you're not going to see or at a park, you're not going to see most of these people again. So you can kind of say whatever you want, right? You can just make things up all you need to. And so looks like he was thinking, oh, here's a guy and I can make something up, and oh, he came back, but this guy's not going to know any better, so I can say whatever I want. I can make things up. And then he got busted for it. And oops, my bad. And so it's a situation where there are only two possibilities. Either he knew what he was doing, he was deliberately deceptive, he was deliberately lying, or he's incredibly, incredibly ignorant of, if you can't tell the difference between a hadith and a footnote, you got some problems there. All right. So what are your thoughts on God Logic apologetics?
Yeah, well, just briefly to add to what you said about the footnote controversy. So Avery, that's God Logic's actual name, he went back then the next week. Uthman, even though he said, I'll bring you multiple books, he brings them a single piece of paper that he printed out. And what he did is he combined a hadith and a footnote in Arabic, but the Arabic portion that he claimed was Messiah was actually a typo, and actually didn't even say Messiah.
Oh, wow.
It said beautiful Sharia is what it said. And there was a typo that made it look like it said Messiah, and he claimed that it was a proof of what he had said, even though the hadith had absolutely nothing to do with the Messiah. The footnote, if you actually read it, he surely knew that it was talking about the Sharia law. So, but the reason that I chose this clip, first of all, I put that first little portion because that's where Avery makes his declaration of what his channel is all about. And then, of course, the dialogue with Uthman, because that's what has made him famous. His channel is only, a month or two old, and it's already up to like 5,000 or 6,000 subscribers. So because of utterly exposing Uthman, he's absolutely blowing up, but still, relatively small. And it also is representative of what he does in general. He has live streams where he invites Muslims on, and he has very friendly conversations with them, jokes around, has a lot of fun while making a serious point, getting them to actually think about what they're saying. And he's very good at asking good questions. You could see that in the Uthman video as well. He's not arguing with Uthman. He's just asking him questions, and he forces him into this situation where he makes something up just by asking good questions.
And that, again, that's something that you can do just by asking Sheikh Uthman questions. Again, the natural inclination is to say whatever I need to say. So think about the situation here, ladies and gentlemen. the underlying problem is that Jesus is identified as Messiah, and the Islamics, they have no clue what this means. They have no clue what this means, right? So why is Jesus the Messiah? What is different about him? And you can make something up, right? You can make something up about the word Messiah and say, aha, this is why Jesus is the unique Messiah. Or you can say, well, yeah, other people can be Messiahs too. In which case you got to defend that point. And looks like Sheikh Uthman has earned his name Sheikh Ibn Fibbin, because again, ladies and gentlemen, two possibilities here. Either he knew he was lying. Because keep in mind, I mean, I've seen pictures of him in his library. He's got all the books. Why in the world do you bring in a printout of a page unless you're deliberately messing around with it? But notice a brand new guy that until very recently most of us had never heard of, GodLogic here, Avery, was able in a very short amount of time to expose Sheikh Uthman for making things up and get him to admit that he had at least made a mistake. He tried to downplay it. He's not deceptive, but very quickly got Sheikh Uthman to embarrass himself. And then even though GodLogic here is showing up and saying, hey, we can get along while we're investigating these things, people eventually started thugging out on him. Right? Didn't they go into thug mode after this? I recall some clip about that. That sound familiar?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't actually watch that video, but I did see it and the recommended, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a peek at GodLogic's channel here. GodLogic Apologetics. 6,340 subscribers. So he's got at the top here Sheikh Uthman versus GodLogic. And let's see. Live discussion with Muslims. So he has live discussions on his channel. You mentioned his discussions earlier. Does the Quran deny the crucifixion? How to prove to a Muslim that the Bible is from God? Interesting stuff. The GodLogic Project. All Muslims are invited. Sheikh Uthman Ibn Farouk. Final footnote. Lie. Open discussion. All Muslims invited. So looks like he regularly invites Muslims for. My goodness, is that a 6.5 hour open discussion? That's dedication right there, right at the top there, towards the middle. The GodLogic Project. All Muslims invited. 6 hours and 33 minutes. That would, I don't know what I think my record is like 4 hours or something like that. And then I think I'm at the bottom of the page already.
Yeah, I mean, it's a brand new channel.
Okay, so brand new. Well, that's actually pretty rapid growth then. Yeah, so you're right. It was the Sheikh Uthman thing, because 6,300 subscribers may not seem like a lot, but for a channel that just started, that's a lot. That's a lot. You're by far the hardest 1,000 subscribers to ever get is your first 1,000 subscribers, and so.
Yeah, it took me somewhere around 2.5 to 3 years to hit 6,000. So
yeah. All right. So, all right, Thaddeus. Final thoughts. Why should people subscribe to GodLogic?
I would just say to subscribe to him, because if you like live streams, if you like dialogue with Muslims, subscribe there, because he has very friendly conversations. They're not. Sometimes these things get into like shouting matches and such. They don't go that way on his channel. You actually have good conversations.
All right, so that's GodLogic, ladies and gentlemen. He's in the chat as well. So you have the link to his channel. Be sure to check him out. And I mean, if I were those of you who are watching, I probably, unless you see a clip from someone and you're just like, oh, I can't stand that guy's approach or something like that, we'll probably go ahead and subscribe to everyone we're talking about now, and then so you get some recommendations, and then check them out. And then if you don't like them, then later on you can unsubscribe. All right, so GodLogic here says, thank you guys, I appreciate you, David and Thaddeus, no problem. And so who do we have next, Thaddeus?
So next on the list is Testify. And this is a channel that I think I had seen like once or twice before you asked for recommendations, but it wasn't a channel I was subscribed to. It wasn't a channel I watched. So it's a perfect example. And It's straight Christian apologetics. It's not about Islam. So the fact that your audience was recommending it really suggests a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm not familiar with the channel. But yeah, people were recommending it, so that means some people are watching it. All right, so should we check out Testify?
Yep.
Here we go.
When were the Gospels written? Most scholars say that the Gospel of Mark dates between 66 through 70 AD, Matthew and Luke around 85 to 90, and John 90 to 100. Skeptics like Bart Ehrman imply that they're too late to be reliable, as a decades-long time gap leaves plenty of room for myths and legends to creep in. When it comes to history, chronological closeness matters, but where exactly are critics coming up with these later dates? When you dive into the literature, you find that many biblical scholars date Matthew, Mark, and Luke past 70 AD for one main reason: Jesus' prophecies regarding the destruction of Jerusalem and its temple. The so-called scholarly theory is that Jesus never said these things. They were put into his mouth to make him out to be an amazing prophet. Yes, I'm serious. Almost the entire late dating scheme is primarily based on the question-begging, anti-supernaturalistic premise that Jesus could have never prophesied the coming devastation of Jerusalem in such detail. Prophecy is on par with leprechauns and unicorns. But there's a growing chorus of scholars who challenge these assumptions, and they're not all hardcore Christians. Even some atheist scholars like Maurice Casey or James Crossley have challenged late dating. Well, why is that? For starters, if you know anything about Israel's history, Jerusalem's downfall had happened before in 586 BC. Let's take a look at 2 Kings 25, 8 through 10. It reads, "On the 7th day of the 5th month, in the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, commander of the imperial guard and official of the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. He set fire to the temple of the Lord, the royal palace, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Every important building he burned down. The whole Babylonian army under the commander of the imperial guard broke down the walls of Jerusalem." It's these kind of details, the burning of the temple and the siege of the walls, that some say can only be described after 70 AD, but they happened before. God's prophets were often the announcers of the curse of the law for disobeying God's commandments. Jeremiah said Jerusalem would be destroyed because of their sin, and Jesus followed suit. As New Testament scholar C.H. Dodd has pointed out, so far as any historical event has colored the picture, it is not Titus' capture of Jerusalem in 70 AD, but Nebuchadnezzar's capture in 586 BC. There is no single trait of the forecast which cannot be documented directly out of the Old Testament. Second, Luke points out that a little-known prophet named Agabus prophesied the famine coming during the days of Emperor Claudius. This was fulfilled in the 40s. But Jesus, the earth-shattering main figure of his gospel, foretells the destruction of Jerusalem, and all we get is crickets? This seems a bit odd to say the least. Why doesn't Luke say Jesus' words were fulfilled in the days of Emperor Titus? I have a theory, and hear me out on this one. Maybe because the fulfillment hadn't happened yet. Finally, Jesus' words regarding the temple's destruction doesn't make a lot of sense unless they happen before the event. In Mark's Gospel, Jesus says that when people see the abomination of desolation, they should flee to the mountains. Mark and Matthew say that Jesus commanded them to pray that it doesn't happen in winter. Matthew includes pray that it doesn't happen on the Sabbath. Luke says when Jerusalem was surrounded by armies, let those who are inside the city depart, and let not those who are out in the country enter in it. Here's the thing. We know from history that Titus destroyed the temple in late summer. Why pray that something doesn't happen at a particular time if it already happened? And what's the point of Luke adding a warning about not entering into the city if the city was already ruined? The late dating scenario is built on a flimsy foundation. It's no wonder that E.P. Sanders, not a particularly conservative scholar, has concluded that there is no material in Mark which must be dated after 70 AD.
Interesting stuff. Do you know you checked out their channel? Are most of the videos like that with the
Yeah,
the
so
graphics?
this is the channel of Eric Manning, and most of the videos are on the subject of New Testament reliability. That seems to be his main focus, and most of them are this kind of beautiful animation style.
And someone pointed out, Baseball King here said, Testify is also on TikTok. And that makes sense because I see a video there of him with Inspiring Philosophy talking about bringing Christian sanity to TikTok. So, by the way, everyone, Inspiring Philosophy is also on TikTok, so that makes sense. So we got some TikTokers here. Let's go ahead and check out this channel. Welcome to Testify. Got some helpful channels here. Huh, I don't see my channel listed. I guess I'm not helpful. Then we got shorts. Makes sense to be making shorts because I think you could do double duty with those on TikTok. You can make a short for YouTube and then the same format for TikTok. All right, so the historical reliability of the Gospels. Yes, Josephus really mentions Jesus. Yes, Tacitus mentions the historical Jesus 5 times. Archaeology silenced critics. The Gospel authors knew local geography. Okay, looks like, I mean, yeah, this looks like this looks like good stuff here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that I had never heard of this channel because it especially aligns with my interest. You know, it's all about the reliability, about these historical arguments. He makes these careful arguments, drawing on scholarship and answering objections from skeptics and so forth. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I just had Jonathan McClatchy on discussing the maximal data approach to defending the resurrection, because you have a couple different ways that people can go, and we discussed that in that live stream. But looks like down here in the bottom corner we see learn to make a maximal case for the resurrection, and we saw Jonathan McClatchy's channel linked up here. Oh, and Lydia McGrew. So yeah, so it gives us kind of an idea, and it makes sense with defending the historical reliability of the New Testament and so on. That would be his approach. So everyone, you've got the link in the description box to Testify. And all right, Thaddeus, final thoughts on Testify and why people should subscribe.
Yeah, I'd say if you're interested in making objective arguments for audiences that, don't necessarily believe in the reliability of the Bible from the start, to definitely go here, because the historical argument is very powerful and his videos are very enjoyable to watch.
All right, and going back to Elle here had a comment on God Logic. She said, been doing this for years and I'm nowhere near that reach, so his work is seriously paying off. Praise God. She's commenting on how rapidly his channel has been growing. But Elle, I think you're getting a boost here pretty soon. All right, what are you laughing at? You don't know what I'm talking about. Well, you might. I don't know. I don't know what anyone knows. All right, what do we have next?
I just thought you meant from putting the comment up and saying that she has a channel.
No. We can do bigger things than that.
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about then. So.
All right. All right, who do we have next?
So next up on the list is Adam Seeker. Adam actually has 2 channels. He has an English channel and he has an Urdu language channel. He's an ex-Muslim convert to Christianity from Pakistan. So he speaks Urdu as his first language. And I say this in all genuineness, that I think that his Urdu channel is probably one of the most important Christian channels on YouTube, because there are very few people who can reach people who speak that language.
And it's such a massive audience. Like my second biggest source of views by country. The top, my biggest source of views is the United States. Second is India. So there is a hunger out in that part of the world for information on these topics, and so someone who's actually doing it in Urdu, big help. All right, should we check out a clip from Adam Seeker?
Absolutely.
And since we are English speakers, we will check out an English clip here. Adam Seeker. So everyone, Adam Seeker has an English channel and an Urdu channel.
Hello everyone. This is your favorite Murtad live once again, and today we are gonna have some fun. His camel kneeled down and dismounted and lay his head on my lap and slept. Abu Bakr came to me and hit me violently on the chest. Now that makes sense. You know why it makes sense? Because here in Arabic they can't do much, because it says shadida. It says shadida. Let me show you. Okay. Abu Bakr shadida. Check this out. And Abu Bakr hit me hard. Shadidatan. shadidatan. Now here, they can't do much about it, because how can you pinch with hardness? How can you pinch with violent pinch? There cannot be violent pinch. Now, I'm gonna share the link for the Muslimin. Let's see if a Muslim brother or sister can come up and tell us why the father of his wife was beating his wife violently and Muhammad did not do jack. I have given you a simple question. You call me brother, whereas your Quran says don't even take Jews and Christians as your friends. Now, let me add you in and I will allow you to speak. And if you speak nicely, we can have a reasonable discussion. If you keep on barking like a dog, this is what is going to happen, and then you will run away like a dog with the tail behind his legs. Let me add you in. You have heard me clearly. Are you going to be nice or are you going to act like Muhammad?
Be acting the way you're going to be acting. You give me a thing.
I am acting.
Don't
I
cut
did
me
not
off.
abuse you.
Your God or the fact is.
Okay. Get lost. Now you are banned from studio. Bye bye, you demon possessed Muhammadan. Alright guys, let's see. It says children of Adam, Ya Bani Adam. If there come to you a messenger from your relating to you my verses, who comes to you? Who comes to you? A messenger relating my verses to you. Then whosoever fears Allah and reforms, there will be no fear concerning them, nor will they grieve. Now imagine, he shows the true face of Muhammad. Muhammad says, go bite the penis of your father. This guy talks about MF and F and F and F and F and F. So many places.
All right, and I've seen several people point out that the first thing I was thinking when I was watching that, which is Seeking the Narrow Way, said he reminds me of Christian Prince. It seems like a very similar approach, and an important approach in terms of just constantly putting their sources up on the screen and then preempting the lies and deception about it that they would see. If we were to bring that up, they would, Thaddeus and I don't have a good background in Arabic. And so they would, what that really means is this, these 57 different things that the word can mean. And let me go with the one that I'm going to use in this situation and so on. And so you have Christian Prince and Adam Seeker putting their sources up and breaking down the Arabic and exposing the lies. So what do you think, Thaddeus?
Yeah, just for a little context, the reason that he was talking about it can't be pinch is he first started with a hadith that used the exact same word and it translated as pinch, but then they couldn't do that in that hadith, and he was showing how the translators play with the language. And I also cut out all of the attempts to get that Muslim to actually talk. He kept coming on and cursing and yelling and such. And I didn't think that would be appropriate to put in the stream, but I did want to demonstrate that he invites people on, and he does have good conversations with people from time to time. If people are nice and reasonable, they have good conversations. If people come in and they just want to yell, he gets rid of them. So
yeah, and he has 14.7 thousand subscribers, so if he had a little more, he would have been pushed out of this video. Because you had people have been asking about Rob Christian. There's Rob Christian on this list, and you didn't include him because he has something like 30-some thousand subscribers, right?
Yeah, he was in the top 10 of the recommendations. He was kind of like a borderline case that he's been around a while and a lot of people know him, but he also isn't like super well known, like the way Christian Prince is. And same idea. He does a similar style as Christian Prince as well.
Yeah, and so matter of fact, after we're done, I'll go ahead and add a link to Rob Christian as well for anyone who wants to check that out. But yeah, just so everyone knows, we're not giving just here were the most recommended people. There were people who are recommended, who had a ton of people recommending them, but they also already had a ton of followers. And so So we geared this more towards people who were getting a lot of recommendations and didn't have a lot of followers, and so because those are the people who just probably haven't been been around very long or haven't gotten enough exposure, and so trying to help them there. All right, so here we have Adam Seeker's channel. He's got Uthman ibn Farouk is in his best moments. We know Sheikh Uthman has plenty of them. And oops, doesn't look like he's set up his homepage here because he doesn't have playlists here. But we could just check out what the uploads are. Uthman ibn Farouk is best known. What is jihad? Part 13. And that's a 2-hour video, and that's part 13. So that is a lot of detail there. A thumbnail is tiny, but it looks like he has Osama Dakdok on there with him.
Yeah, that's correct. The What is Jihad series, he's been going through Osama's book with Osama. They've been going through it together, his book on jihad.
And Pakistan is on a blocking spree. What is jihad? Part 12. Uthman ibn Farouk can't even read the Quran. Ouch. What is jihad? All right, so 14.7 thousand subscribers for Adam Seeker. Everyone be sure to check out Adam Seeker's channel, especially, and we can say, it looks like we can say, if you like Christian Prince, you will almost certainly like Adam Seeker and Rob Christian. So if you've been following Christian Prince for years and you haven't been following Adam Seeker and Rob Christian, looks like they would be very similar format, and you definitely want to check those out. All right, what do we got next?
Well, just real quickly, I would agree with that. Adam is known for his long live streams. If by chance you speak Urdu, that channel has even more action than the English channel. He gets like 10 wide of Muslims coming up at the same time and debating with him, including like actual sheikhs and scholars of Islam. So next up on the list is Deflate. This is another straight apologetics channel.
And Deflate, I have seen. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he's doing as far as the algorithm, but he constantly gets recommended to me. So I always see him in recommendations. So maybe he should teach a class on, I don't know, titles and thumbnails and descriptions and so on, because the algorithm's definitely picking him up. So, all right, we're going to check out a video by Deflate.
In a nutshell, there are three intertwined reasons why you are on firm ground to conclude that the New Testament teaches the Trinity. First, because it establishes the divinity of Jesus. Second, because it establishes the divinity of the Holy Spirit. And third, because it puts those two divine persons alongside God the Father and presents all three of them as acting in unity. So let's start with passages that talk about the divinity of Jesus. In Mark 2, when a lame man is lowered through the roof, Jesus tells him, "Son, your sins are forgiven." With this statement, Jesus clearly implies that he is divine, because only God can forgive sins. This is exactly the reason why the people present at the scene react by saying, "Why does this fellow talk like that? He's blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" Also, in several places in the Gospels, you see people coming to Jesus and worshiping him without him stopping them, which clearly implies that Jesus thinks of himself as being God rather than merely human. Compare that to Acts 14, where Paul and Barnabas are worshipped by a crowd in Lystra, to which they object, "Friends, why are you doing this? We too are only human, like you." There are also, of course, very explicit references to the divinity of Jesus, such as Colossians, where you read that by Jesus all things were created and that in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. Now let's turn to the Holy Spirit. One of the most prominent passages that teach his divinity is Acts 5. In the story of Ananias and Sapphira, the married couple in the first church who sell their property and bring only part of the proceeds to the apostles for distribution among the poor, under the pretense that they are handing over all of the money. Peter confronts them and says, "Why is it that you have contrived this deed in your heart? You have not lied to man, but to God. 4 verses later, Peter goes on to say, how is it that you have agreed together to test the Spirit of the Lord? In other words, the Spirit of the Lord, whom Ananias and Sapphira tested, is identified with God, to whom they lied. Now, critics sometimes object and say, but the word Trinity isn't found in the New Testament. Yes, that's right. But note that the Bible doesn't mention the words omniscience or omnipotence either. Yet the text repeatedly teaches that God has these attributes, even though it never uses the two words omniscience and omnipotence with which we capture them. The same applies to the Trinity. Even though you can't find the term as such on any page of the New Testament, the text does teach very clearly and repeatedly that Jesus is divine, that the Spirit is divine, and that these two and God the Father act in unity with one another. This state of affairs is exactly what the term Trinity captures, namely that God exists as three persons within the unity of one.
You see his shirt there?
I can't quite make it out.
It says book talk, but since the bottoms of the letters are cut off, at first I thought it said booty talk. And I was like, man, what kind of pervert are people recommending here, talking about his booty talk? But yes, then I saw when he raised up a little, it looks like book talk. So that's just some nerd stuff right there. Mike Winger pointed out, he said, Deflate has some great stuff. And Mike Winger got a ton of recommendations, right?
Yeah, I think he was about 3rd or 4th overall on the list.
Yeah, so but he was one of the ones who got canceled because he already has a ton of viewers.
Yeah, I love Mike Winger. He's probably my favorite non-Islamic content Christian channel. But he has, I think, 400,000 subscribers, something like that. So by no means a small channel.
Yeah, you notice what he did. He came in and said, "Oh, I'll just sit here with my glasses in front of my bookcase and just roll with that." I wonder where he got that idea, right?
It worked. I mean, when I first saw his channel, he only had like maybe 20,000 subscribers. So by copying you, he's managed to gain a lot of subscribers.
Yeah, he's got a ton of them. Their nickname is Wingalings. His subscriber community, they're called Wingalings. We call them Wingalings. Wingalings. Right. And he's saying that he got canceled. He got canceled for having too many subscribers. All right, but yeah, everyone, if you're not subscribed to Mike Winger and you like live streams, he's one of the guys who really prepares his videos, like spends a lot of time going into a lot of depth, spends a lot of time reading all the relevant materials on it, then discussing it. So check this out. But Deflate, very well-made videos here going through apologetics issues. And let's go ahead and check out his channel here. So Deflate, 18,000 subscribers. So he was almost out of this live stream.
Yeah, I think that he had the most of anyone that made it. But on the other hand, since it wasn't a channel about Islam, I thought there's a much greater chance that people wouldn't know about it.
Notice he's got good thumbnails here. He's got good thumbnails because, again, you always want to, when the algorithm keeps recommending a person's videos to you, it's the algorithm's taking into account things that you've watched in the past, but also, things like click-through rate, how many people see the video and then click on it and so on. So he's doing some stuff right here. And so I think this guy's going to keep growing. I think he's going to keep expanding, like, without any recommendations from me. But yeah, looks like it's basically good. You want good content, you want well-made videos, and you want good titles and thumbnails. And so looks like he's doing it all correctly. All right, final thoughts on Deflate.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with this channel before the recommendations, but I watched several of the videos and I was very impressed with the editing and the pacing as well as the arguments. And it looks like he has a combination of live stream Q&A interviews and with very interesting guests in the shorter, well-edited videos. So he's definitely on his way.
All right, guys. So
And just one other quick note: the volume thing, that was my bad. I think that it accidentally got doubled up when I put it in the editing software, because the original is not like that.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I can adjust stuff once we're in there, but I have to just hear it a little bit. But that's pretty standard for video clips to have different volume levels. All right, so that's 5 of the 6. So who do we have last?
So the last one is Lloyd de Jong. He had the lowest subscribers of anyone to make the list, and he was tied for 4th place, I guess, with Deflate for the most recommendations after I took out the channels that had massive numbers of subscribers.
Okay, so low number of subscribers, but still a lot of people recommending him. That's a good sign.
Exactly.
All right, so let's go ahead and check out a clip from Lloyd. Here we go.
So today,
that's a little low.
I'm going to be talking about Sharia law. I need to demystify and explain what Sharia law is and explain its importance in Islam.
Yeah, explain it.
When you only study the Quran and the Hadith, you do not get the full picture. You get a tiny picture of Islam. There's a chapter in the Sharia called Holding One's Tongue. It's about keeping secrets. It's about knowing when not to speak. And it says, do not assist one another in sin and aggression. Now, understand, these meanings may be slightly ambiguous, right? But also, do not let your brother do something that would bring shame on Islam, right? That would break the law of Islam. So, for instance, speak of giving directions to wrongdoers, showing the way to policemen and tyrants when they are going to commit injustice and corruption. 2015, Bataclan massacre. Those men that committed that atrocity were in Molenbeek in Belgium for 2 months. No one for a long time told the police where they were. Why? Because they're following the Sharia law. Because showing the way to policemen when they're going to commit injustice and corruption. Why? Because those Muslims did not commit an atrocity. They were following the law of Allah. They were doing good. They were commanding the right, and they were forbidding the wrong. Understand? So, therefore, the policemen who would arrest them are the ones who are going to commit injustice. But also notice here, sin and aggression, right? Something that is wrong, where you must hold your tongue, it is wrong to teach questions of sacred law to those learning it in bad faith. So right now I'm teaching it in bad faith, and you as my audience are learning it in bad faith, because you are not learning it to apply the knowledge in your lives, i.e. to become a Muslim. So Deen embodies perspectives on existence, that's your Aqidah, your life, society, and socio-political system, governance. Right? Islam is a complete and a competing ideology and a system of life and society, like communism. Right? A political, ideological system. For Muslims, Islam is a superior ideology that towers over other isms like capitalism and the resultant socio-political systems. It is a political framework for managing mankind's affairs. Islam combines civil, moral, and ritual law. Right? There's very little distinction between them, whereas of course we make these differences. Within Judaism, they make the differences between the ritual, the moral, and the civil law. And of course in Christianity we only have the moral law. Jesus did not legislate parking tickets and how to, give fines to people.
All right, so that's before I forget, I just saw a comment over here from two Messianic Jews. They said his video "Atheism is not a lack of belief." This is from a little earlier. He said his video "Atheism is not a lack of belief." Sorry, atheists is impressive. I only put this up because two Messianic Jews is a channel that people should be following. I've known these guys for a while. These are younger guys, and for people, even people who who've been in apologetics for a while. If you think of Messianic Jew, it's basically Michael Brown. It's like the one guy you think of. And so check out the channel Two Messianic Jews. I will add that later into the description box, link to their channel. I keep meaning to have them on, and we keep I'm too massively disorganized. Like, we've planned to do things in the past and just somehow not gotten around to it. But check out their channel. Now back to Lloyd.
Yeah, so I've known Lloyd for a long time. He's been a major contributor to my channel. The recommendations were based just on the data, but he did make the top five. He You like to describe Sam as the Assyrian encyclopedia. I describe Lloyd as the Sharia encyclopedia. He has a lot of expertise in Sharia. He comes from a security background. He worked in the Middle East for more than a decade in counterterrorism type efforts. So he has a deep understanding of the culture. He has a deep understanding of the way Muslims think, and he also is very talented at research. He comes up with these great finds that no one else seems to come across. Actually, one of his most popular videos was looking at the Philistines and not about Sharia at all.
That's actually that's what we call. Oh, I'm not sure if that would qualify as niche content, but the idea is. Whenever you're putting out content, there's a supply factor and a demand factor. So if you say, hey, I want to go into apologetics and I want to defend the existence of God, well, that's cool. But there are who knows how many tens of thousands of videos defending the existence of God. And so there's already a lot of competition with it. Whereas if you make a good video discussing the Philistines, you don't have a lot of competition there. So everyone who's looking up the Philistines for something will probably come across your content. So content, keep that in mind, everyone. These are your pro tips here. These are your pro tips. If you are the only source of information on something, like I've made videos in the past where when I was putting it out, I was like, people don't know this stuff. Like who killed Muhammad, right? I put out my video, Who Killed Muhammad? It's got a couple million views or something like that. But I knew, hey, there are a few of us apologists who know this information about Muhammad, but no one's really packed it all into a video and put it out there. The same thing with Muhammad Ali and pointing out who he was actually named after and that guy's background. I was like, people just don't know this. The point here is, when you are loading content onto YouTube, when you're making a YouTube video, you should be thinking how many videos are doing the same thing out there. Doesn't mean you shouldn't make it, even if there are already 100,000 videos on the topic. But you got to be asking yourself, why are people going to watch my video? What am I adding to this discussion? But in those situations where you're like, oh, I've got something people don't know about, that's going to help your video take off if you're the one who's got a video on a particular topic. So Lloyd's your buddy here. Going back, I think I've gotten to the bottom of his channel. Oh, so he's actually been on a while, but it's totally different stuff.
He had a channel about security type issues, self-defense and whatnot, before he started talking about Islam. So at the bottom there, you're at
the issues are kind of connected, right?
Indeed.
All right, so Lloyd, you're saying this guy has some serious brain power and knowledge, and yet has 4,400 subscribers. So final thoughts on why people should subscribe to Lloyd here.
Yeah, I mean, he was the smallest channel to make the list. Clearly, his content is starting to catch on, so you get in now and you're on the ground floor.
All right, so everyone, those are the channels that keep in mind. There were channels who had, like Mike Winger and Christian Prince. There were established channels that did have a ton of people recommending them that we did not want to include because people already know about them. And there were many more channels that were recommended that don't have followers and that don't have a ton of followers and so on. So we looked for that sort of sweet spot, people who were underrated given the quality of their content. And so we recommended these 6 channels. We could have given many, many more, but the point is, if we come on here and say, hey, here are 50 channels to follow, guess what? People aren't following most of those channels and so on. If we say here are 5 or 6 or something like that, then hopefully we can help some channels out. All right, so that's our list.
Absolutely. I did want to give one personal recommendation. We don't have a video to look at it. The Third Apology. He's much smaller. He's like at 2,000 subscribers, but I personally find his content to be quite good. He has more of a video essay style, and he has these very deep intellectual thoughts about things. And I just think that, and he's very young. He just recently graduated from college. So I think that, that's someone to look to for the future of apologetics.
And I'm looking, he's dealing with a lot of Islamic issues. His most recent video, I'm talking about the third apology. I'll add that to the description box as well. But his most recent video is an interview with J. Warner Wallace, whom I've had on this channel. Lots of content dealing with Islam. Zakir Naik, I see Allah condemns Muhammad. Jesus is greater than Muhammad. The high cost of using the Islamophobia card. So yeah, we didn't. I'll check out some of these. See if I can recommend some content. All right, so that's what we wanted to cover in this video. Anything else?
Yeah, so I got a couple housekeeping measures for you. So in, I believe it was January, maybe February, I issued a debate challenge to you to debate the topic whether Muhammad was a prophet, with me taking the yes side, that I would argue that he is a prophet. Obviously, I wouldn't argue for it in the way that Muslims would like, but I would argue in a way that he is a prophet. Would you be interested in doing that debate at some point in the future?
It's possible. My only concern is that as soon as people say it and they realize it's kind of a joke, they say, "Oh, you see, he can't debate a real Muslim," even though I've been in like 80 debates with Muslims. There is this tendency to just ignore the purpose and just say, "You see, now they're doing fake debates," and them running to each other and saying, "You see, it's a fake debate. It's not real. It's not real. The guy's pretending to be a Muslim to make these arguments," and so on. I don't know where you'd be going with that, but it would be hilarious to have arguments like, Muhammad's great like some of the arguments we read about in the early Muslim sources that were so incredibly persuasive to people. He's got this giant mole on his back, and that's the seal of that's how you spot a prophet. He's got a giant mole on his back and stuff. You look at this stuff, you're going, "Are you insane?" But you don't see Muslims using this stuff anymore, even though, that was the basis for some of their faith early on, was things like that. But yeah, I'd have to think about that sort of in the future. But
sure. Let me just give you my thesis statement. And that's that Muhammad is so incompetent that no one would have voluntarily followed him, so he must have had some sort of supernatural help.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Like that's similar to the approach I take in debates about whether Muhammad existed. But it's weird because I actually believe this is how the main reason we know Muhammad existed is no one would have invented this nonsense about some guy. And the question is that persuasive enough to overwhelm the lack of sources, the lack of early sources, and it kind of depends on how much stock you put into embarrassing testimony. But yeah, that would probably be a good direction to go for Muhammad. Keep in mind, you don't have to wait for me to do something like that. You could just make a video saying 100% proof that Muhammad is a prophet. And then give
absolutely. If the debate never happens, then I'll definitely put it out in a different format. It's an idea that I had for a while. This serious in a sense argument, but not an argument that any Muslim could accept because it makes Muhammad look super bad in the process.
Yeah, he doesn't look very good.
So then the other housekeeping matter I have for you is I also put out a video suggesting that instead of actually deleting your channel, that you just delete all the content and then you either give the channel, I suggested to Anthony Rogers, or you sell the channel. And of course I suggested to myself for that.
Yeah, and I watched your video. I watched your video specifically because you asked me to watch it in the email about this live stream, and so it was cool because when I said, "Hey, let's do this live stream," it was, "Oh, I remember I agreed in the past to work with Thaddeus on something. So, and then you mentioned it, said, hey, two birds with one stone. And then, but then you said it in that video. You said it in the video. So I clicked on the video, and then you said it in the video. Said, hey, you said we'd do something together. So this could be it. So anyway, worked out perfectly. Anyway, you made a good case for anyone who doesn't know what's been going on. I mean, I'm sure if you're watching here, you know, I'm deleting my channel. I'm scheduled to delete my channel on July 4th. Most of the people who say, no, what a stupid idea, did not watch the videos that I put out explaining what I'm doing. And everyone, I mean, a bunch of those people seem to think I'm just leaving everything and going over here and I'm going to be on a website. Not my plan at all. If that were my plan, I would say, yes, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. That's not what I'm doing. But an important part of future plans involves destroying and deleting this channel, just sort of getting it all out of the way. It's too much of a hassle type situation. And Thaddeus, you made a really good case for selling it. You're like, hey, people already gave you the money to fund stuff, but you can always use some more money. And am I right? And it's actually something in my head because, I actually add up, okay, here's how much I need for this. Here's how much I need for this. And so I ask people to support that. And then they give me way more than I asked for. And I think, haha, I've got way more than I need. But I know from history, the history of my life, as soon as I get started, all these additional things are going to come into play. And it's all going to cost piles of money. I just know that from experience. And so you gave the right pitch. What you underestimated in your video, in your in your case for why I should give away the channel or sell the channel, and have people delete the videos. There's a reason for deleting the videos, ladies and gentlemen. There's a purpose. You agree that there's a reason for deleting the content, right? There's an important role that all of this plays. If you don't know what it is and you're just going, no, keep it all as an archive, you did not listen to anything I said. And what you're telling me, I'm not talking to Thaddeus now, I'm talking to those of you who say, just keep the channel as an archive. You did not watch anything I said or did not understand it, because there is a very important reason for deleting the channel as far as being on the internet for a long period of time. The way they are coming at this channel, they will ban you forever, period. And then you can't be on ever again. So that's what some of you are saying when you say, keep it as an archive. Great. You're saying, hey, 3, 4, 5 months from now, be banned completely forever. So there's a reason for taking a different approach. I've got a way to beat the system. What Thaddeus is saying is he's got a solution that takes into account everything I've said and doesn't involve completely deleting the channels. Just delete the content, give it to someone else, or sell it to Thaddeus, and then keep it as a channel. And then that person then has all those all those subscribers and so on. And so the only flaw there is you underestimate how hilarious I think it would be to delete my channel. I just think I know other people don't think like this. And I don't know if it's a psychopath thing or whatever. I think it would be I think it's just hilarious to take something and then destroy it in front of everyone to show that, guys, you shouldn't be putting your trust in it. You can do this with anything. I would think it's funny, right? If some rich guy went out and bought a Lamborghini and then just smashed it to pieces or something, I would think that's hilarious, right? Guys, I just bought a Lamborghini. I do not need this Lamborghini. Get rid of this Lamborghini, and just destroyed it. I would think that's hilarious. Anyway, so there's this added thing of I don't know. I think people are way too attached to things. And if it were me, I would probably delete my channel every couple of years just to get a fresh start. Just to start over and get a fresh start. But I'll tell you this. So you made a good case. And earlier today, I'm granting the possibility that something could change my mind, because, God could give me a sign or something like that, or someone could make an airtight case. But I was still like, 99-1 in favor of deleting my channel. The only serious doubt I had just about that was Hatun. Hatun just getting her Quran stolen, a Quran that I gave her as a gift, stolen, and then people cheering for her getting arrested because she got strong-armed. And then I was just thinking, Man, it'd be hilarious to just give Hatun my channel, right? So I was thinking that, but then I was thinking, oh, okay. After I thought that, I was like, okay, well, I guess it's possible to give my channel. But at the same time, DCCI has like 50,000 subscribers, so they don't exactly need my help.
Yeah, I think they might have been in the top 10 as well. It's definitely near the top 10, if not in it. Another channel, yeah, it looks like number 7. I just put up my list. So it's technically number 7. So it would have made this list if we were just looking at all channels, but definitely too large for today.
All right. So given my response to your video, any final thoughts on that? I know that, keep in mind, I know this will sound stupid to everyone. I just want to, your average person would think that it's not funny at all to destroy something that you've worked 13 years on. I've just been like that my entire life, and I don't think it makes. You'd think that someone who lives life like that is going to. It's just going to be one big disaster. But it's cool because every time you get yourself into the situation, just burn everything to the ground, it forces you to be extra awesome in what you're taking off next, because everyone is saying you just screwed up everything. There's no way you can make it back from this now. You just made the dumbest decision ever. And then so it forces you to go, oh, really? Oh, really? You think that's going to stop the dizzle? You think that's going to stop the dizzle, people? So it actually works out. Like, I have no doubt I'm about to put out some of the greatest content that's ever been seen in the history of YouTube, even better than all the other content I put out over the years. But what are your thoughts on this, Thaddeus?
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair response. That's a good response. I'd suggest continue to think it over and maybe consider that if you are not able to delete your channel during that live stream, if you have to delete it an hour later or whatever, maybe then reconsider. And I'm here.
So, just so you know, Thaddeus, as soon as you started suggesting bidding, other people started saying, whatever he bids, we will outbid him. There are people offering giant piles of money for the channel here.
Yeah, Bob told me he was going to outbid me.
Bob said he'd outbid you on anything. Hey, by the way, you know Bob?
Yeah, he has a monthly fellowship for YouTube apologists, and I've been participating in that.
What you ever think about doing like a super group channel? You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Like, yeah. Super group, like you pick like 4 or 5 people and you guys all post on a channel.
Yeah, the idea had never occurred to me, but I get what you're saying. Very interesting idea.
I'm just saying, because I mean, part of the problem is I don't want to be like, oh, here Thaddeus, here's the channel. I'll accept your bid and not let Bob outbid you. And then but I like Bob. You know what I mean? So it's
right.
kind of.
Well, there you go. Bob and I can go in together, and we can get anyone else who wants to contribute some money too, and we can all be a super group on the former Act 17 apologetics.
Here's the thing. I don't want to, just because, again, I know for a fact it is a problem. I always massively underestimate how much time something is going to take. I always massively underestimate how much money things are going to cost. Just so everyone knows, I mean, I think it's a mental defect, because I'm the guy who sits there watching the MMA fight going, man, I could take these guys. I just hit him like that when he came in, and I know it's false, right? I know I can't do it, but that's how I feel. I feel like none of these guys could stop me, and so on. So I had like these delusions of indestructibility and so on. So I always seriously underestimate what it's going to take to get stuff done. So I actually wouldn't want to turn money down. At the same time, I wouldn't want to bankrupt a bunch of apologists unless you guys just have massive stacks of cash sitting around. Just so you know, I also I also do. I'm also kind of spur of the moment. I have gotten more used to changing my mind once I hit mid 40s. Once I hit mid 40s, it just sort of changed all of a sudden. Because back in the day, once I set my mind on something, you would literally have to saw my head off to get me to stop, because there was nothing that was going to stop me. I'm going to blurt this out now without seriously thinking about it. If you wanted to run and again, this is only because the people with Hatun yesterday ticked me off enough to say, how can I do something that will annoy them? And giving Hatun more access to something would help that. If you wanted to put together a little super group of like 4 or 5 people who can all use the channel, it doesn't mean they're posting all their content. I think it's good to have your own channels, and then once a week or something like that, each person, tosses something into the mix or something like that. Man, I feel like I'm just going to change my mind as soon as I stop, but it'll be too late, because I will have said it, and then I will feel bound to stick with my deal. If you wanted to take the channel, stick with your deal as far as deleting the content, except for maybe, let's say 10 views. If you're doing it as a super group, you can actually leave a few things up, like Nabil's testimony, a couple of the videos that have performed long term, and still get lots of views, just to keep things going. I would take your introductory bid. You run the channel, but you put together a super group. Keep around 10 of my videos that still get lots of views, and you guys can run it as a super group. I could live with that, but I know as soon as I'm not live, I'm going to change my mind. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I say that's a great idea. That's actually better than my idea of giving it or selling it to me, is making it a community effort that, we each put up, say, a quarter of our content here and the other 3/4 on our own channel, or whatever the exact amount, and use it as a apologetics community, an apologetics empire, if you will.
And then we have comments. Sarah says, would David still be able to be permanently banned from YouTube even if others own the channel? No, that's the point.
Yeah, to be clear, David would sign over legal ownership of it, so YouTube could not ban him. They could only ban whoever was the owner, which would possibly be me. So they could ban me, I suppose, but they couldn't ban David.
Yeah, it's the channel. It's whoever owns the channel is in trouble if the channel gets banned. Anna says, I hope D. Wood has prayed about this. I have. Thought about it. Actually had the desire to delete my channel and start over for years. Didn't, because there was too much cool stuff happening. And so it was with the YouTube annoying me, and the trust and safety team annoying me, it was just kind of pushing me over the edge a little bit, right? So I already kind of wanted to do that. Look, we see the problem here. Adam Seeker says, hey, David, you run it and allow others to post videos on it. No, Adam, that was the point. I need to get away from this channel, because I'll break it down in a nutshell for everyone, even though I've explained it in videos before. The YouTube rule is, if you get banned on one channel, you're banned on all of your channels. That's the official rule. Some people don't follow that rule. They'll I'm suspended for a week over here, so I'll go post over here. If they catch you doing that, they give you a strike. They give you an extra strike. And if they just totally ban you for one channel, they'll just ban you. You're not allowed to be on YouTube anymore. I've come up with a solution to all of that to make everything I'm doing unbannable. So the safe content, Maybe I have a YouTube channel and I post my safe content, other stuff that's posted on other platforms. And if people should upload that to YouTube, it's not me doing it. I didn't do it. It wasn't me, right? So yes, it involves destroying this channel. I don't know, man. I don't know what a good idea is. All right.
So we renamed the channel the Apologetics Empire, and I have a relationship with Adam. I have a relationship with Hatun. I have a relationship with Bob. So I definitely can get several people involved. I'm sure that no one is going to turn down that opportunity to post on this channel. So,
all right. So as far as what we're talking about here, are you proposing to buy my channel, you own it, and then you run it as a supergroup?
That would be the proposal. So I'll take the legal ownership aspect, but everyone else who is picked to be part of the group, and you could tell me who you want me to ask to be part of it, but whoever is picked, they would have access to post, but I would be the legal owner.
Yeah, and I mean, it helps to just have one person who gets final say and stuff like that, and yeah, you'd be the owner. But yeah, that makes sense. And no, you don't. But by the way, I mean, if you own it, you don't need to listen to me. But I'll toss you some.
Well, I just meant, for recommendation. We'll call it recommendations.
Yeah, we'll call it recommendations.
Actually, we should be clear that you would not be telling me what to do, because we don't want YouTube coming back and saying this is just a front.
Yeah.
So definitely be clear here that it would be my decision as to what was posted, and I would listen to what David had to say if he told me anything. He may not even tell me anything. I don't know, but I would listen, but it would be my decision ultimately.
All right. Well, man, I really want to delete my channel. Gosh, what would I do on July 4th? I guess I could just delete like 1,000+ videos live.
Well, yeah, you could have the live stream, you could delete the videos, and you could invite a number of us on, and we could, discuss what we're going to be doing with the channel. You could also put up a community poll and see what people want you to do, but I bet you it's going to be overwhelmingly not delete. So it probably won't tell you anything you don't already know.
Gosh, this is tough. Because, I mean, keep in mind, I thought about it for a year and a half before I decided, okay, I'm going to delete my channel. And then everyone's saying, don't delete my channel. I'm thinking, ha, ha, ha. Guys, don't you realize I already decided and there's no turning back now? And then people offering me money and thinking, ha, ha, you think you're going to win me over with money? And then last second, right before you and I do this live stream on channels and so on, Hatun gets arrested for having her Quran that I gave her stolen. Right? And then me thinking, what can I do to annoy people? So, I mean, by the way, when I said like divine sign, I don't know if that's a divine sign or something like that, but that's the sort of thing I look for, because the only thing that would overwhelm, hey, this is the path I've chosen and now I'm stuck to it, is someone really annoying me and me wanting to tick them off. That's always for future reference. Thaddeus, if you're ever in a situation where I've decided to do something, you want me to do something else, that's how to put it. But David, look what that person did over here, and think how annoying it would be if you did this in response. That's yep. All right.
Yeah. So let's talk offline. I might have something to say about that divine providence as well. I don't want to claim anything on the air, but I have some more information that might be relevant in that regard.
All right. I will tentatively lean in that direction with the understanding that other things could happen in the next several days.
Absolutely.
Because I will be talking to other people. Like I want to get Hatun on here in the next couple of days, and I think she said she's available after something like after Tuesday or something like that. So I want to talk to her. Because keep in mind, I'm saying this here. If Hatun says, because I said I'm not sure she'd want to just have the channel because they already have a really good channel. If Hatun said, you know what, I just want the whole channel, I'd give it to her. I'd give it to Hatun. Heartbeat, just to tick people off. I do like the idea of a super group run by you though, so we will tentatively stick with that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go back and read through the comments here on what other people are thinking, because this is some of the stuff up. When I say I'm deleting my channel, that's because I've thought about it long and hard. When I come up with, hey, instead do a super group, that's off the top of my head type stuff, and so there might be things I'm ignoring here.
Absolutely. Before we sign off, I just wanted to say that the prophecy has come true. I have passed 10,000 subscribers.
Oh, nice.
So, and it was between 3 and 9 hours, just like I said, whereas the Quran prophecy wasn't actually really fulfilled between 3 and 9 years. So it seems I'm better than Allah.
Right.
A low bar, I know, but
it is. I mean, no need to. I don't want to burst your prophet bubble, but I mean, pretty much everyone in history was more accurate than Muhammad and Allah when it comes to the prophecies.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I do have to take that into consideration. And just one other announcement: I started a channel a couple days ago, which I called the David Wood Archives with an S, which I'm re-uploading David's videos one at a time. If the super group thing happens, might change gears there. Maybe don't want to also be uploading the videos if I have legal ownership of this channel. But for right now, I'll be uploading his videos one at a time. Try to get the algorithm to repick them up to get them introduced to new people.
And one quick comment from GodLogic. He says, "What's up with the apologetics empire?" If you're talking about I don't know, because you were just talking about apologetics empire, but then the apologetics empire is this thing that I was talking about before, where everyone's going to be translating videos that I post and so on. But if that's what you're talking about, GodLogic, yes, I was supposed to record them. I was supposed to record them last week, but the studio ran into some problems getting all these professionally recorded. So that got moved to next month. So yeah, that'll be next month. And I'm also making a video, sort of a tutorial on how to make videos for people who, in case anyone doesn't know, I'm going to put out a video per week for an entire year. I'm recording the entire 52-part series next month. And the idea is I'm going to release the video with the full transcript, and people from other countries who speak other languages are going to take the transcript, translate the entire script, and then re-record it in their own language. They're going to do that each week for the entire year, so that by the end of the year, we have a full apologetics course dealing with Islam in dozens of other languages. So that was the plan. I've been talking about it for a couple of years. Never actually got to doing all the recording. So I'm about to do all the recording now. And once we do that, then I'm making a tutorial video for people on here's how to make videos depending on what you have, because there are people who have access to a studio and can do it in studio. There are people who have access to teleprompters who can do that. There are people who will just be recording on their cell phones. That's what they have, or on their computers or something like that. With the all of that works. I'm saying all that works. So it's going to be whatever your situation is, whatever equipment you have access to. Here's how to make this work best, because I've been in all those situations before as far as needing to record. I've had nothing, and I've had awesome equipment. So I've been in everywhere in between. So for people who are new to recording, and the good side is, for those of you who are interested, if you do the translation work, content is yours. You don't need to give me credit, anything else. If you translate that entire series, those are your videos, your channel. You're free to monetize that, do whatever you want. Once we've got all the scripts, you can put those out as a book in your language. Again, do not need to give me credit. I do not care. If you do the work of the translation, that is your content there. So anyway, that's coming. That is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. So think if you're interested in that stuff. All right, we've gone about half an hour longer than I wanted to go. But it was cool because we got to check out the channels, and then listen to everyone whine about deleting my channel and so on.
Yeah, and we got to see inner view of how your mind works as you're thinking about it live. So
Yeah,
that's great.
and some of that stuff's weird. Like, I mean, I really think it's funny to delete my channel. It's just, I mean, it's like, and part of it is I know that, like, if I delete my channel like 30 years from now, I'll still think that's hilarious. I'll still be, hey, you remember when I deleted my entire channel that I worked on for 13 years? That was funny. Yeah. All right. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, thanks to Thaddeus, who, in theory, may own this channel next week.
Awesome.
We'll see what happens. All right. Catch everyone. Be sure to subscribe to all the channels that I listed. Check out the ones you like and the ones you don't. Shame on them for not pleasing you. Just kidding. Different people like different kinds of content, so find the ones you like. And there are a few more people that I wanted to get on here before we go, because I noticed that you didn't have a lot of the Speaker's Corner people there, either because they had, they already had a lot of followers, but definitely want to get Bob back on, and a couple of his friends, and Hatun as well. And so, yeah, I'll be back here in the next, I'll probably be back a bunch this week. All right. Catch y'all later.